I started having these headaches after that summer camp and really wasn't quite sure what it was. They were different in the sense that I've heard what people's headaches were at the time. This didn't seem like it was the same. The pain was different. The pain was pretty excruciating. Probably the first bad one I had, I thought I was literally going to die. It was something that was just trying to rip the inside of my head out. Quite honestly, it scared the hell out of me.
Hmm.
It definitely wasn't right.
Ready? Okay.
Right.
Good times on everyone. I'm Angel, also known as Clusterfuck, and welcome to Cluster Chronicles. This is a space where people living with cluster headaches come together and talk honestly about what this condition is really like. Today I'm joined by Gary. Um, we met at a Cluster Busters conference last year, actually. Thanks for being here, Gary, and your willingness to share your story. Would you mind introducing yourself a bit?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name's Gary Gibson. I'm 57 years old. I live in Texas in the U.S. I'm married to an excellent supporter for cluster head. I am a professional engineer. I've been in engineering almost my entire life, my professional career. I have a total of 5 kids. I have, I was started having these headaches about 2003, summer 2003. Had no clue what it was at that point. Ended up being diagnosed with both chronic cluster headaches and hemicrania continua, which are two related headache disorders in 2010. So time period of about 6.5 years where I had no clue what was really going on with that. I'm very avid in the outdoors. Always like to be outside. I do marathon canoe racing. My kids, luckily, there's 3 of them that live within about 5 minutes of me, so I get to see 2 of my granddaughters quite frequently. And other than that, I would say I'm a family person. I enjoy having family around. I have a very close knit circle of friends, and both family and that circle of friends, I am very protective of, and will defend them to the end of the earth if I have to.
Could you take me back to your first attack, Gary?
Sure. So I was at summer camp with my oldest in June or July of 2003. Once I got back, mine started a little bit gradual. So I've never had headaches. Throughout my entire childhood, I didn't have headaches. 10 years didn't have headaches. Even going out and partying, hangovers didn't have headaches. But all of a sudden, I started having these headaches after that summer camp and really wasn't quite sure what it was. They were different in the sense that I've heard what people's headaches were at the time. This didn't seem like it was the same. The pain was different. The pain was pretty excruciating. They started out about once a week, then a couple a week, and then it went to every day and then multiple times a day. Um, the probably the first bad one I had, I thought I was literally going to die. Uh, Felt like from the inside out of my head, it was something that was just trying to rip the inside of my head out. Quite honestly, it scared the hell out of me. It definitely wasn't right. I've had different pains before. Been in car accidents, played sports, so I had injuries there. But um, when those first really started hitting, it was it was something that it was hard to describe. It's one of those things that there's no language for it when they first came.
Hmm.
And the other part about that is it was extremely violent type of pain. It wasn't just an ache. It wasn't like a muscle ache. It was very violent. It was something that I couldn't get rid of. It's something that I couldn't do anything to relieve that pain. Um, and again, it didn't feel right in any sense of the word. Uh, it felt like there was something seriously wrong within my head. Um, None of the doctors I talked to really seemed to understand it. It was, I'm on my seventh neurologist right now since 2003. I went through 3 neurologists in about 5 years when this first started. Part of it was that part of the frustration when these first started happening, in the sense that nobody could tell me what it was, is you go in and talk to a doctor about it, and oh, you have this kind of headache. Oh, you have this kind of headache. Well, yeah, I know I have a headache. Um, but what can you do for it? What is it? And I never got a diagnosis or a good feel that they really knew what was happening. The other frustrating part about that is that you walk into your neurologist for an appointment, and there's a notepad and there's a pen for the last pharmaceutical rep that was in there, and that's what I walk out with. And it was every single time. I could bet money on it if I was a betting man. But it was something different, and I guess to make a long story short on that side of it, when they first really started hitting hard with both of those headache conditions, um, it was it turned into be a daily battle, in the sense that I still worked. I was lucky in the sense that I was able to step out from work when I needed to. And it went from, again, like I said, it went from one a week to, at the worst time, I was about 8 to 10 a day between both the Hemicrania continua flare ups and the cluster attacks. And then it was just a disconnect. Family didn't understand. Family tried to understand, but they didn't. Friends tried to be empathetic, but they just didn't really understand. And so there was a huge disconnect in your life at that point.
Anybody believe you?
They believed I had headaches. They didn't believe the headaches were as bad as they were. And when they started, my kids were two. Well, I had 3 kids at that point. My kids were 2, 10, and 12. So they basically grew up with us. You try and hide it, but when you have kids that small, you can't always hide it.
Curious.
I'd be in the middle of attack, and they'd walk in on me. They'd come in the front door from being outside. My daughter was very cognizant of it. She was the one that would always say, "You have a headache, don't you?" And they would go upstairs. They go outside. They would do something else, but always trying to hide it. My biggest fear at that time was what long-lasting effects that would have on my kids. It was something that I was afraid that it was going to negatively affect them. I was also curious as far as, is this something I'm going to give to them? Am I going to pass this down to my kids? Thankfully, that doesn't seem like that's happened. And also, thankfully, I learned as I got older that kids are extremely resilient. It did not affect them in the long term. I think it actually made them more empathetic. It made them actually care about things that go on that people don't understand.
Yeah. Was there a breaking point for you? Like a
Um,
cycle that changed everything?
I could say I've got a few I would call breaking points. Um, about 3 or 4 years after my youngest was born, um, started having issues in my marriage, and so my ex-wife never believed it. She never understood it. She never tried to understand it. I got to a point to where I was alone on an island, given up on medication. I'd given up on trying to find people. With that, it becomes it becomes a losing battle in my mind, in my head, as far as how can I get out of this? Or more than once, I thought about just getting rid of it all, ending all the pain. What kept me around though was my kids, and I think that's a very common theme within our community. Is there's always that thought. There's always that thought of how can I get rid of this pain? And when I'm in the throes of one of these attacks, um, I would do anything to stop the pain. But my mind's more focused on keeping myself keeping myself mentally intact, to fight.
Self-preservation.
Yes. Uh, it's something that, and again, it's when I've been in some of these attacks and people have been witness to it. My last attack that I was hospitalized on was actually on my wife's 50th birthday. all my kids were there. Some of their significant others were there. They were all witness to it. Those type of events are the ones that, when that happens, that gets that it gets to the point to where you wonder, is it worth it? Um, just because of the sheer terror that you're going through and imparting that on others. But I would say my first breaking point was when I started having these attacks throughout the day and throughout the night. Lack of sleep, lack of inner peace, lack of mental clarity, and I knew that the only thing to come the next day was to do it all over again. And that was my first breaking point, in the sense that falling into depression, falling into how can I keep myself at a point to where I can still be effective for my family, for my kids. How can I keep a job and continue to work to put food on the table and roof over your head? And all that stress added with the pain of the attacks is uh, it's just never ending.
I can definitely understand that for sure. I was gonna ask, like when it comes to emotionally and physically and mentally, did it change how you saw yourself as a person, your value, um, the part that people don't see?
It did. Before all of this, I was my kids and I were always outside to visit family.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the standard goofing off stuff you do, having fun, living life, enjoying your kids, making an impact on them. Once these started, the hidden side of it that you have to put a mask on is that you don't feel you're as effective.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt that I was as effective as a person um, from from before, primarily because going through this battle again every day. And the part about it is it's you know when some of these are going to happen. I know when I go to bed, there's a good chance that I'm going to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be full blown. There's a good chance that I'm going to wake up at 4:35 in the morning. I'm going to be full blown. And so part of that is the concern on that I'm not being the father I should, that I'm not being the brother that I should, that I'm not being that colleague at work that I should, because I'm always preoccupied. And so for me, it was to a point for a period of time, um, I lost the value and the quality of life.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's heavy. I know what it feels like. I'm also chronic. But maybe you could walk us through like internally what an attack feels like, just for the viewers and everybody. You're okay with that?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's there's a presentation of a pain that starts to ramp up, and I've got to make the decision at some point: is this my hemicrania continuous or cluster? They present very similarly, but there's different treatments for each one.
Mm-hmm.
For my cluster attacks, when it ramps up, if I can't get to an abortive very soon, I'm going to a panic mode. A panic mode in the sense that, number one, I can't get to my abortive. Number two, I know it's coming. Number three, how high is this going to get?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some theories out there as far as the amount of pain that people go through with the cluster attack. And as that pain ramps up, and there's nothing you can do. For me, I term it as kind of an artificial pain management. So when I say that this is a violent disorder, uh, violent in the sense of banging your head against the wall, beating the side of your head with your fist. I've had doctors that have told me, I've had doctors to tell me that, yeah, he needs to see me get up and walk across the room to make sure I didn't do brain damage. As I was detoxing off of ketamine, and that was ketamine that I was given when paramedics were called. That type of thought process, in the sense that what's going to happen with this one, is this going to be one of the ones that are just off the scale? Is it one of the ones that the pain is so high that your body goes into survival mode and it doesn't let you pass out from the pain?
There's times you're scared to call for help because what if you feel like it's going to ramp up and it doesn't, and you're fine in 20 minutes,
Yes.
and then you just called an ambulance, and
Yeah, and
it's
then it's a
scary.
massive fee because again, okay, we're going to charge you this
Yeah.
ambulance now, but
Hi, I'm good.
yeah, you're right. There are some of them that go up for a little bit and then they dissipate. It wasn't really a full blown attack. It was what I would call a bad shadow, some
Hmm.
bad shadow pain, or maybe it was an HC flare up, which don't get as high as a cluster as a cluster attack, and they're also much shorter. Before I got to a point where I was managed, and before I got to a point where I had a good abortive, I didn't have a good abortive until around 2017. Yeah.
It's a long time.
Um, that was
I've
the first
just,
time that I'd been given triptans, but they were always in a nasal form or in pills. I
and were
wasn't
you ever prescribed oxygen at an early stage
I
of your
was well
diagnosis?
I wasn't prescribed oxygen. When I'd gone into ER, they put me on oxygen, or so I thought. They put the little nasal cannula in there, which runs about 4 liters a minute, which for
Hmm.
clusters doesn't even touch them. The first time that I actually had oxygen correct is my previous neurologist had mentioned that. Even though she had mentioned it, she wouldn't prescribe it. And she wouldn't prescribe it because she said the insurance didn't go pay for it, which at that point I didn't care. I'll pay for it
I'll
out of
pay
pocket.
for it. Yeah.
But I was in a full blown attack, had gone into the hospital. Um, I actually drove myself to the hospital. Got there and uh, I told them I need high flow oxygen. I have cluster headaches. I'm in the middle of an attack. That's what I need right now. Well, when you're in the ER, there's already a queue time. So you're sitting there just hoping that they'll get to you at some point in time. Had a nurse that came out and said, come on back. It's okay. Where are we going? So we're going to go get scans. I don't need scans.
I need
I need,
oxygen.
well, I need high flow oxygen.
Sorry, that that upset me a little bit.
Yeah, and I know exactly what I have. This is after I was diagnosed, and so
Hmm.
I
Okay.
have cluster headaches and high flow oxygen. So my wife met me at the hospital. She drove me. We were going to go to my neurologist office. Uh, she had called the neurologist, said, "Hey, he's in a full blown attack. Do you have high flow oxygen?" She didn't have it at the doctor's office. So there's a satellite hospital or satellite ER that's near our house. Drove in there. Um, all the stars lined up correctly. We walked in before I was even triaged. A nurse took me back to one of the rooms, pulled out a mask, put it on, turned the regulator all the way. Um, that was a massive change in where I'm at.
I know exactly the feeling when something finally works.
Yeah. Julie
That
tells the
doesn't.
story that she watched me and she just watched the pain leave my body within 15
It
minutes.
worked that quick for you, eh? So when you put the oxygen on, did it dissipate a little bit of the pain immediately?
No, it wasn't immediate. It still took a while, but looking back at it now, I'm surprised it worked because normally after that, if I didn't get to oxygen quick, it wasn't going to help.
That was your first
But
time ever having it proper. It's
correct.
probably,
That
yeah.
was the first time I had high flow oxygen at the level it needed. Now it was a standard non-rebreather that they give to people, so it wasn't the ideal mass. But to experience that and to um, know that yes, there is something that works. There's something that works that I don't have to put a drug into my body.
Hmm.
I don't have to put these drugs that kill your heart. I don't have to put these drugs that give you so much brain fog that you can't function. Um, Drugs that make you lethargic and you don't want to get out of bed. All these different things that we're given. It having something that you can take that has no detrimental effects on you was life changing at that point. Um, After that, I pushed harder and harder, and finally it was just give me the prescription. I'm not
That's when you
asking if the
started
insurance.
really advocating for yourself. And
Yeah, give me that, and I'll decide how I get it.
hmm.
And so I did. And so the DME supplier I have right now for the oxygen, I haven't had to get a second prescription. I'm not sure if that's normal, but got my first prescription about 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I can get any size tank I want. I can get as many of them as I want. And it's been, like I said, it's been life changing since having that. Now, I will say with oxygen, it wasn't 100% effective though. It worked over half the time, but it wasn't 100%. But that over half the time
Especially
is
being chronic.
huge.
It's the same
Yes.
for me. It's over half the time, but
Yeah.
not every time. Hmm. Do you know what season you're in now? Like, sometimes I'm still trying to figure out how my seasons work and my schedules because it's like for episodics, they know when they have an idea of the time they're gonna get hit. When you're
Hmm.
chronic, you have highs and lows. I'm still trying to figure out my highs and lows. Do you know where you're at right now?
I do. Usually about February till April or May are my bad times of the year. There was somebody at a conference, I think 2 years ago, that said they were chronocytic, and I understand exactly.
Chronosotic.
Yeah. um,
I almost get it, but I still need you to explain it.
yeah. So you're chronic, but you
Hmm.
have these episodes that are worse
Yeah.
times. So for me, it's the spring. I know every spring. I do now. And again, this is going back to the question about do people believe you. I'm going to take a little tangent here because
No, go for it.
it's so I got divorced, got remarried in 2014. Got remarried in 2014. I did mine as best as I can. For the most part, Julie, who's my wife,
Yep.
see anything bad. Yeah, she saw pain here and there. She knew I was taking medication, but she didn't see any things that were really bad. There was a point in time to where I think it's a combination of things. One, the high flow oxygen when that helped back in 2017. Um, she kind of looked back and looked at these arguments that we've been having and saw that pretty much every single time that happened, I was in pain.
Hmm.
So it's not the fact that I'm just an asshole. It's it's the fact that you're going through this battle and then your patience runs very thin. Um, you're busy fighting this battle, so you snap the wrong way, you say the wrong words, and that's part of what she knows. At that point in time, she really started digging in and started learning about it. Started to figure out on her own, and that's probably the first time that I've ever had somebody that I would say truly believes what the extent of that is. Because she did get through and she went through and did all the research. She did the studying on her own. She tried to find out as much as she can. Um, she's been um, she's been the best support structure that I've ever had with this.
Yeah, I agree. She's an amazing person.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so going through with that and having somebody understand that and having somebody have that support structure. When you talk about the mental aspect of this, the mental aspect of that is is game changing. I mean, when you know you have somebody there that they know that there's nothing they can truly do for you, but they can try and help you when they're on the way through it. So she'll see me before I even say anything, whether it's I'm pressing on my temple or I start rubbing my eye or something along the lines of that, or she'll see my face change a little bit. She'll ask me, "You want a Red Bull? Do you need heat? Previously, do you need oxygen?" I hadn't used oxygen in probably a year. She'll ask all those questions, and so she has that there. I've gotten to the point to where I don't mind if she's near me when I have an attack, and I've gotten to the point to where sometimes she can touch me, and I don't mind. But it depends where and how. If it's anywhere around my head, my neck, my face, anything else, that's completely off limits.
Just feels like it'll make it worse. I've
Yes. Yeah.
come to realize it doesn't, but for some reason, even when I'm not in an attack, from here up, don't touch me. It's scary.
Yeah,
It's,
it did. And I think part of that is so different inputs don't make things worse for me on their own. So light doesn't make things worse. Certain noises don't make things worse.
hmm.
My granddaughter's running around just being, 8 and 9 year old girls. Doesn't bother me on their own, but put all those together. And if I've got shadows or I've got an attack, I'm at the other end of the attack. it just drives you over the edge.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot going on.
yeah, and so that's part of kind of what drives to losing part of that time. But I think that also takes you back and it makes you truly make the most of the time that you're not in Italian,
Hmm.
because
And it,
because you know you're losing a part of that.
and your supporters being there for you while you're in those times and making sure
Correct.
you're okay and doing their own thing kind of does make you feel like everybody you're a team. Everybody works
Right. Yeah.
together. What do you think you would tell other supporters, or do you wish other supporters understood a bit more? Because you are with the Cluster Busters, right? So I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories, and
Correct. And just to give a little background on that,
yeah,
I gotten out. I first found cluster busters back in the late 2000s. Of course, I didn't know what I had, so I dropped off of it. I found Ouch and Ouch UK, which are well, it stands for Organization for the Understanding of Cluster Headaches. Those are
hmm,
US version and the UK version. Again, didn't know what I had, so I kind of dropped those. Went to my first conference for cluster busters in 2023. We went there, and when I say that conference was life changing, for anybody that listens to this that has not experienced a cluster buster conference, it is life changing. Um,
I second that.
yeah, I had talked to people online that had cluster headaches, but I'd never seen anybody face to face. Walked into that conference, and the first person I met lives less than 30 minutes away from me. We went to Orlando,
That's
Florida.
actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I went to Orlando, Florida to meet somebody that lives just outside of Houston, Texas. And there's a couple of people that I met that are almost right in my backyard, so to speak. But so after that first conference, I wanted to do more and more. So after that first conference, I signed up to be an advocate for Headache on the Hill, which is an event in the U.S. where it's not just for clusters; it's for headache disorders in general. And so people sign up for it, and you spend a full day in Washington D.C. and you're in the legislature's offices, and you were talking to them about making change. It's not cluster specific, but a lot of it will affect people who have cluster headaches. Um, Past that, there was a program that was started up called Cluster Buddies through Cluster Busters, and that's where um, we'll pair people up. Um, People will have cluster headaches with other people who have cluster headaches, people who are new to having cluster headaches with people who are more experienced, and kind of be there as, let's say, a mentor, a shoulder to cry on, somebody to tell them that, yeah, you're there, but you're not alone. Um, it's a battle. You're not alone. Um, you aren't crazy. Um, you're not weak. You can get through this. And also talk to them about treatments that, for instance, people I've talked to them about treatments that I've done that have worked. I'm not saying that they're going to work for everybody. We do the same thing on the supporter side, the care partner side. So those care partners that were in the same boat that Julie was, not knowing what to do and feeling helpless in the fact that they're watching their significant other, their family member, their friend sit there and suffer and they can't do anything. Having people paired up there to help walk them through it as well, as far as, yeah, you're okay. I mean, they're going to be okay. These are the things that I would look at doing. These are the things you really need to talk about. You need to talk about in those times that where you're not having pain. What are the things I can do to help you? What kind of protocol do you want to use? Okay, so if you start having this, do you want me to get you this first, that's second, this third? How can I assist in that? I know I can't take it away, but I can try and help you out with it. Um, I got in, started doing that, uh, and then last year I actually joined the board for Cluster Busters. So I've been a board member now for 5 or 6, no, about 6 months now. For me, it really it gives me the ability to further helping to make a change, helping people that were in that spot I was for 7 years. Now, I actually looked in that until I got some good treatment. And then past that, I've kind of gone gung ho and what I can do with it. But I helped start up with two other people here in the Houston area a local Texas support group for cluster heads. And so we have calls once a month. We've had face-to-face meetups. We've been able to help people through bad times. We've been able to get people resources for different treatments. help people get hold of oxygen when their doctor won't give it to them. So it's almost given a new meaning to what you do. I don't really want to say a meaning to life, but um, there's very much a sense of satisfaction to be able to help people get out of that place that I was in.
Not the only purpose, but a new purpose. Yeah. Yeah. On what you were just saying with the new people joining, I'll also put all the links for the support meetings in the link in the bio. But to somebody who's watching who just had their first attack, what do you think they would need to hear? You can speak like right to them if you want. Break that fourth wall.
Yeah, if you've just had your first attack, um, talk to people, get out there, advocate for yourself. More than likely, you're with a doctor that doesn't know about cluster headaches. One of the biggest challenges we have is there's roughly 350,000 people in the U.S., just in the U.S., that have cluster headaches, compared to 40 million that have migraines. Find a headache specialist that knows about cluster headaches. Reach out to different communities. Know that you're not in this alone. Know that you got a huge support group, a global support group. You got people that know exactly what you're going through. Believe it or not, you do. Again, communicate with people. Reach out. There's a lot of people out there that want to help you. And by all means, 100%, you've got to advocate for yourself and find that support person that's really in it for you.
That was really nice. Is there anything you want to add or that you might have forgot to?
Um, I think a big part of this is, and I'll talk about the cluster buster community for a minute on that, is the citizen science has progressed a lot of things that we use today. A lot of the treatment protocols we use, a lot of the alternative treatments that we use, the use of oxygen, how to use oxygen, to the point that Cluster Busters has written a training manual to help train the suicide prevention line on how to deal with cluster headaches.
Hmm.
And,
I've sent it to the Canadian one.
so, I mean, you can imagine if you call up suicide hotline with a cluster headache and you say, "Hey, I got a headache," got people on the other end, if they don't know what you're talking about, it's like, "Yeah, okay, you got a headache, take an aspirin, you'll be okay."
The first response I got was, I think you're calling the wrong line. And I said suicide headaches, which perplexed me a little bit, but sorry, yes, continue.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
that's exactly it. People just didn't know what they were.
Hmm.
Going back and look. So one of the things we did with Headache on the Hill this year is we started looking at the number of headache specialists out there versus the number of people who have headache disorders. And there's one headache specialist for every 44,000 headache sufferers within the United States. Again, just talk about the United States. Those are the only numbers I have. But
Mm,
if you
that's a
think about that,
lot. That's a
for for the number of people that a doctor would have to see on a daily basis to see them one time a year, you can't do it. And then as you whittle down to cluster headaches, which again, going from about 40 million people have a headache disorder down to 350,000 have cluster headaches, the number of headache specialists also goes down dramatically. There's not a lot. Um, and so when you look at that, it's very perplexing. And it also explains a lot as far as why people can't get good treatment.
why we're struggling. Yeah.
There's not a lot of money in a population of 350,000 with a disorder. When you start
Hmm.
looking at pharmacology, when the insurance companies are looking at, when these just are looking at where their money's going to be best served, it's not with that community. It's going to be a community that have a larger population. And and go back to citizen science, there's alternative treatments out there that started out just with a message on a message board. And now there's some of the most effective alternative treatments that are out there right now. And it's the citizen science that's done it. It's the citizen science that's allowed researchers to go through and start to research some of the stuff that hasn't been researched in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And they're
If
able to
nobody
get that
else is
out
going to
there.
do it, we have to do it ourselves.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in it. And again, that kind of goes back to what I said before. For somebody that's just started this journey and has just found out they're having these really strange headaches that sound like they could be a cluster headache. get out there and talk to people.
Hmm.
Get on one of the support groups, the Cluster Buds Discord server, the Cluster Busters website, the support meetings. Um, make sure you have somebody that can truly diagnose you. And kind of going back to diagnosis, I had to go to Mayo Clinic up in Rochester. I got very lucky in that sense, in that when I went up there, my home-based doctor, which is the one that sends me out to all the other doctors, wrote a white paper that he had presented the year before, talking about a patient he had that had cluster headaches and hemicrania continua. And he gave me the white paper and he said, "Read this and let me know what you think." And I read it. It's like, you got to be kidding me! You just wrote this paper about me. And so I don't, yeah, I don't know how I get this lucky. And so, yeah, from there out, it was okay. We've got this plan. We've got these 9, 10 different options. We're going to go through each one of those. And of course, the first one was high flow oxygen. I said, "Well, I've had oxygen before and it did work. Okay, we're going to go to the
Work
next
some.
one." But, but it's a journey. I think, as bad as it is at times, it makes you stronger.
Hmm.
It's going to make you more empathetic. It's going to make the days that are pain free that much more enjoyable. It's going to make you really value the time with those you care about. And at the end of the day, that's what life's about. You surround yourself with people you want to enjoy, people you want to spend time with, and make the best of it.
I agree. We'll end on a good note. Tell us something good going on in your life right now.
Um, I'm counting down to retirement.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm in single digits, but no,
Sweet.
yeah, right now, I would say one of the highlights of where I'm at right now is I've got an 8-year-old granddaughter, a 9-year-old granddaughter that I get to see pretty much every week.
You're
And
lucky.
yeah, they get around here, and as rambunctious as they can be, there's nothing like them running up and giving you a big hug and just want to tell you what they did. It's an
Yeah.
amazing feeling. But past that, I'd say, going through and um, getting to a point where you can live life again
Yeah.
and just enjoy life. You can enjoy going out to an event. You can enjoy going to a concert. You can enjoy getting on a plane and going somewhere. It's that wasn't there for a while.
I'm glad you came and told us your story. I'm sure a lot of people, more than I even think, will appreciate it. And I'm excited to tell our next one.
Good. I appreciate you having me on. And I said, for those that listen to this, get out there and find a group and find some people to talk to. There's a lot of people that want to talk to you.
Yeah. I'll have some links in the bio for groups and his Texas conference support group. I think
Support
it
group.
happens once a month.
Yes.
Once a month. All
Yes.
right. We'll have those in the link. Thanks, Gary.
But I appreciate it, Angel.
Bye.
All right. Bye.